Hello everybody, today I found this article that I found a bit interesting that I want to look at. It's about removing Sass from a blog. So it's some blog poster here who wrote an article. So he writes, my site is spread across 5 different servers. I use slightly different CSS on each one. Since 2013 I've been using Sass, SCSS, to manage the variants using these features. So variables available in CSS since 2020, calculations available in CSS since 2015, and nesting available in CSS since late 2023. Even though I want to use new browser features right away, I usually wait a year or two for them to stabilize and get into extended support releases. And then it says, a few years ago I had switched variables and calculations from Sass to CSS, but I still needed Sass for nesting. Since CSS nesting has now been supported for 2 years, I decided it should be safe for me to use it, and that means I no longer need Sass. So it, with this switch 2 years, I think it is also take some time for like web browsers to implement the features, and then for people to actually like update their web browsers. And so the support reaches the level that you need. You cannot really go or take the latest features immediately with like when it's web based, since you rely on your users' browsers being up to date. And then it says, I divided the CSS into 8 files that I can simply concatenate together using cat, then esbuild to minify the result. And here he has that command. Since the web server uses gzip content encoded, does it really matter if I minify? Yes, it does. And the help from minify seems to be independent of the help from gzip. So here is an image, cat, and then minify, gzip, so you get some saving and then using them together a lot more. The main goal of this change was to reduce dependencies, but it looks like I still have a dependency on esbuild instead of Sass. How is that better? And we will get to that now. I have been maintaining my site for over 30 years. It's older than Wikipedia or Google. Most software doesn't last long, and I don't expect Sass or esbuild to last as long as my website. When I'm choosing tools, I ask myself, what happens when this software disappears? There's a difference between the Sass risk and the esbuild risk. I'm using Sass to translate Sass to CSS. If it disappears, it's already deprecated. I have to manually translate it or find an alternative. I can't update the site without that software. I'm using esbuild only to minify. If it disappears, I lose an optimization, but I don't have to do more work. I can continue updating the site without it. So in terms of dependencies, I'm happier with esbuild than Sass. We can open this. So Sass, that was one compiler for Sass. So Sass is a different CSS language that compiles to CSS. And this compiler has reached the end of life. So it's a compiler or a transpiler. It transpiles then from Sass to CSS. And this was implemented in C and C++, this one. So you can still use Dart Sass, that's the maintained version. So you can still use Sass without any problem using this compiler. That's what people behind Sass recommends. But as this article says, maybe like the essential features that you once used Sass for, they're now available natively in CSS. So maybe there's less need for using Sass, and I think this is something I would consider in my own projects that I work in. Maybe we don't need Sass. It's just a bit annoying having Sass that you need to compile it, and often maybe you also check in 2 different files, like you have your Sass file, maybe you also commit your CSS file, which is the result of it. Sometimes you do. But if we continue here, I generally want to prioritize changes that make the site better for readers. This change does not help in the short term, but years from now, when I want to fix a type or add information to the site, it will be easier for me to update if I have fewer dependencies to update. Everything is about trade-offs. Not using a useful tool can make things harder, but using a useful tool can make things harder in a different way. Yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense, and it also reminds me of DHH and his no-build movement, or whatever you want to call it. So if you search no-build, so you can't get faster than no-build. And this is from a presentation, DHH, so that's the creator of Ruby on Rails, that framework. He made a presentation like 2.5 years ago, almost, where he talked about how they in their products are like doing no build instead, or that's what they advocate for. So instead of relying on these build steps, like and trying to optimize to make them quicker, like if you don't build, then it cannot get any faster than that, and that's like the optimal, to not have to build anything. So that yeah, he talked about JavaScript and CSS, but yeah, with this thing about CSS, it seems like yeah, you don't need any like Sass maybe. Yeah, I think you need to look into yourself. And like if we look at like their product, like one of them is Basecamp, and then if you look at the source code, and here you can see the style sheets, and you can open them, and it's just regular CSS and no minification, and I don't know if they have done any build step to remove comments or something, I don't know, or if they have just put them here like how they look like. But since he has talked about no build, I guess yeah, what we see is just the code that they write in the same way. And yeah, it also simplifies complexity without having to have a build step for your CSS. So I think that's quite interesting, and maybe that's something you want to look into and consider yourself. But I think that was everything I had to share today, and let's see each other another time. Bye bye!